Right, I think we'll go ahead and get started today. So I have printed off all of the parts for the Nevermore, well, almost all of them. I am printing the door right now. Um, it's the first time I'll be building a Nevermore V6. I've built a few of the Nevermore V5s, but I wanted to try this one because it looked a little bit easier because you don't have to modify the fans and um, I don't know, just seemed like there were a few quality of life improvements for it. Let's go ahead and see. So there are built-in supports with the model that support this circles. It prints down in this orientation, just like this. And so these circles have some support that you remove, and there's a couple other minor pieces of support to remove and clean out. A little cleaner. Parts kit. These are all just extra parts from the build so far, so I'm bringing it up so I can stay a little organized. The LDO kit comes with all the parts to make the Nevermore V5, but I'm pretty sure I can use all these parts still for the V6. I'll double check and make sure, but it's my understanding. Let's just look real quick. I'm going to use two Wago clips for the wiring on this. I bought this kit of Wagos just to have on hand. Definitely makes stuff like this easier. Just have an assortment of little tools like that. want to make sure that these fit and line up. You have never built one of the Nevermores from an earlier revision. You had to modify the fans before you mounted them in the filter itself. It's just a lot of work up front. I believe you don't even need to bother. Well, this might be the first. There we go. So there's some snap fit pieces that slide in to hold the fan in place right here, and it's a little finicky, so on one side, and so I swapped to the other side just to see if it was an issue with that one. Let's see. Just reuse this little bit of cable, so you've got to cut it. The LDO wiring kit comes with a female JST connector to go to it. Oh, 10. Yes. If you have money right now set aside for this, I would. People are saying that you can expect about a 25% increase due to these tariffs. So yeah, if you're in the US and you want a kit, you might already be too late. That was one of the reasons why I bought this kit when I did, because I saw the tariffs coming in and I knew that we were going to get this. And so ordered it back in December. But yeah, you want to try to save another 250 bucks is what the tariff would add, just about, probably a little more. Yeah, that's only if you have the finances to do it. Don't stretch yourself too much because 3D printer's not super essential. But if you're already planning on getting one and you want one, you have the money for it, I don't think it's a bad idea to jump on it. Yeah, 10. The prices may not even go up until LDO gets their next, or not LDO, like West 3D gets their next shipment. So we may not see an increase for a month or two, or sooner if everybody just jumps on the lower price ones, knowing that they're all going to go up by $250, because they will. Yeah, they might have to go ahead and just bite that bullet and raise the prices now, and just knowing that the next shipment they're going to need to pay that. So yeah, who knows? What I'm putting on here are just some crimp on connectors. Can't remember the exact name of them, but it's ferrule connectors, I think, just to give the wire a little bit more beef, some more meat. There you go. Yeah, ferrule. As you put it in the Wago, and really you should do this for like your hot end connectors, so they're not just bare wire. Anything that's going to have voltage on it, or amperage, I guess, is a little bit, just makes it a little bit safer. Ah, got the wrong size. Like this one then. I used to just use solder on, like not solder on, but just tin the tips of the wires to make them solid. And I got this kit, and it just makes it a lot easier. I don't have to grab my soldering iron just for quick jobs like this one. This is going together a lot faster than the version 5 of the Nevermore goes together. There's heat sets that you got to put together. I don't think you can use Wago connectors in it. Ooh, yeah, loose wires in a screw down terminal is, in my opinion, a little sketchy. Should have did this. Oh. All right, let's see if these parts fit now. So I printed the bottom part on my bamboo, and then this lid on my Voron, but it was just because my bamboo had the filament already loaded, and it's two different types of filament because I wanted this one the base to be the actual just black ASA, and then this is Soraya Fiber Heart fiber filled ASA, which is what everything else on the printer is going to be. So just to give some little bit of color difference. That may not fit. Easily. Howdy doot. You're finally getting an FDM printer again. You had a resin for a while. And previous FDM was one of those 80 cubic large ones. Are you looking at getting a Voron or doing the build? I have a resin at work. I thought about getting one at home, but with 2 little kids, I didn't even want to make that a thing to have that resin in the house. So this is my first time trying to stream on Twitch and YouTube. Just wanted to try it out and see how it all worked. Just realized that my on-screen chat won't show on the stream both YouTube and Twitch chats. I'll see if I can fix that later. This is barely not fitting, so I'm just trying to make it fit. I have to reprint this part. It's just slightly too big. Really, all I need to do. Are you referring to this one down here, or can't get a good view right there. The drawers. Yes, that is 3D printed. That's Zombie Hedgehog's Screwfinity. I had quite a bit of extra filament, and I was tuning a printer, so I needed to print. And so I printed that. You can probably go get something from Harbor Freight, has some similar units that would be just as good, if not better. His new wacky stacky drawers actually looks interesting. I don't know that I'll print it, but I like the idea of having different width drawers, whereas right in this, they're all Gridfinity sized drawers. And there's no variance to this, it's just this. All right, so last time we worked on this, we got wiring done underneath and passed wires up. A little bit that I did off stream was put this Z cable chain on, just because I still wasn't sure if I wanted to go with the having a cable chain all the way to the tool head, or use a umbilical. I just decided to go with the cable chain for now. I am planning to eventually upgrade this one, the tool head, to either a Zoll or a Dragon burner. So I figure when I do that, I'll move stuff around. But for this build, I just wanted to try to keep it as close to stock as possible. And as close to stock as possible, and then I can do upgrades on it. But since this was my first build with the Chaotic Labs kit, I wanted to try to keep it as simple and close to the book. Yeah, the Harbor Freight containers, great, cheap. Printing all this took quite a bit of time. I did find a way to use the XY end stop PCB that comes with the LDO kit. I had to bend the little tab that pushes on the switch just probably an extra millimeter or two out, so it triggers on the thinner CNC part. I didn't want to mess with sensorless homing quite yet, just because it was one more thing to worry about. But it is something that I plan on doing. So I'm trying to get to the part of the manual now that I need to be in. So this is the actual Voron manual that I'm scrolling through right now. LDO has a addendum for the wiring, so they have you skip all this part. All right. By 6 flathead. Probably shouldn't have screwed that down quite yet because I do think I need to adjust the length of this. Yeah, that's the one. That's something I meant to do off stream, was take it out of the cable chain and start it from the tool head so I had the right length of cable. Let's go ahead with that. This build, I was counting up the hours the other day on how long I've spent on it, and I'm sitting at about 9 hours, I believe. I could be a little off on that, which is fantastic considering after we get wiring done, the last thing is skirts and panels, and then we can print. So that's probably another 2-3 hours after wiring, which is great. I mean, that's a solid build time for this. I know doing cable chains, I've got to kind of play with it a little bit, put it in position, make sure I'm putting it on the right end of the cable chain, just depending on what way it actually flexes. So this will sit like this on the tool head. I think with the Z1, the Z chain, I got the cables loaded and I didn't do enough actual testing to make sure I was loading it right, and it was backwards. So it would have bent the other way, and yeah, kind of broke my heart a little bit. But cable chains don't take too long to redo. Not like belts. So if y'all were here before, make sure you check your belt sizes before you start trimming them, because I was not paying enough attention and ended up using the 6mm belts on my Z, which the 6mm belts go on your XY. So yeah, I had to order new belts and wait for them to come in. Just having one actual cable for this Nighthawk tool headboard is so nice. Means that this cable chain's not fully packed and hard to squeeze all the wires in. My V0 build, there's a Z chain that you run all the bed wires through, and that thing was kind of a pain. Because it's so small. Just in general, the V0 build is a little tricky just because of its size. And so having to squeeze, I think it was 6 wires, maybe more in it. Because you got the bed heater, bed thermistor, bed LEDs. How much longer the chains need to be on the CNC kit. Right? The other problem is I'm comparing it to a 350 build, and sizing is just different. It looks like the cable chain's supposed to be long enough to reach to here, to the actual bracket, but it's a good 2.5 inches short, and kind of the same with the other end, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to cause a problem. Right now I'm just zip tying the Nighthawk cable to the little strain relief that's on the cable chains. Try to keep wires nice and tidy and safe. I know this is probably bad luck to be zip tying everything before I've even tested, but YOLO, right? It wouldn't be one of my streams if a screw didn't fall on the floor. Now the Chaotic Labs mount for this cable chain has 3 holes, whereas the cable chain that LDO ships only has 2 holes. And so only one of the holes lines up. All right, cable chain's almost done. All right. Yes. guy. And that guy. Trying to figure out how this is all going to work out. My Prusa just randomly stopped. Oh. Here is an example of the error that happens on an Excel. You see that? Probably not. Pretty much, the extruder stops extruding plastic, and the firmware at least now can detect when that happens. But it's a pain because it can happen kind of randomly. Something I need to do on this machine is replace all those the tool head wire harnesses parts. But see if Prusa's official fixes it. It's such a weird issue that the extruder literally just stops. And before this firmware update that can detect when that happens, there was no way of actually knowing, and the print would just continue on, but no plastic would come out. And I've trusted my Prusas in the past to set it and forget it and do overnight prints. It's always a bummer to come out in the morning after a, I don't know, 8 to 16 hour print. And it said it was done, but it actually was not. So let's make sure that this goes. that excess cable out of the Z chain. This is why if you follow the manual, I believe they have you start at the tool head and don't try to put it in any chains before that. I just could not do that. I was being impatient and wanted to get some of the wires just off of the floor. Right, so that part of the build is done. Here. Oh, that's nice. So this is the cover for the filter cartridge. So this is the Nevermore V6 cartridge. And this part just flexes so that you can load it with carbon. And this is printed in ABS, or sorry, ASA. It's like those old roll top desks that you might have seen. Like teaching tech how to video on how to make things like this on a 3D printer. Go ahead and get magnets in there. Something I do with magnets is mark the top so that I know I'm always putting the same side in on one end. A little too much glue in that hole. Now you need to put the opposite end in, so the side that was marked, you'll go in. So I'll actually color this one now. Because that side wore off. You can tell here, this. So this, not a lot of marker. Now on this side, there's more. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but you're going to put that opposite end in that we were holding up for the other side. And that's just so that your markers or your magnets stick. get that part printing again. All right. Now, if you guys have any questions about building this Chaotic Labs kit, feel free to ask. So far, it's been great. My 350 V2 that I built was all printed parts. This Chaotic Labs kit has definitely made it a bit easier to assemble everything, and I mean, not having to print all the parts was definitely a plus, but there is a cost involved with having to do that. The CNC parts are quite a bit more expensive than the printed parts, even if you go through something like PIF or CPIF. They're at most, the printed parts will cost you a quarter of the price of the CNC parts, so keep that in mind. Now, while we wait for that glue to set, we need to pull up the wiring for the E3D PZ probe because we need to re-terminate it. Just need the red, brown, and orange. Remember what I did with the rest of that wire. this guy now. Here. I'm going to be able to get a good view of what all I'm working on. Good. So with this PZ probe, you don't want to plug it into the probe connections on the Nighthawk because they are 24 volts. So this connection right here is the probe connection. We want to connect it to the X in stop, which is 5 volt. That's just a 4. Find the wiring diagram for the PZ probe. Since we're not putting it on a probe port, I want to make sure we're wiring it correctly. ground, red is power, orange is trigger. Reading a Reddit post today, somebody was having problems with this exact same probe, and they think that the problems were coming from the probe actually detecting when the tool head was traveling over the Nevermore fans, and it was causing the sensor to go off, thinking that it touched the bed, but only near the Nevermore. So that's how sensitive this thing is. Stripping wires this small is a pain because I don't have wire strips that can go down this far. Crimping ain't easy. Try again. Garage floor hides everything that I drop. And I drop a lot of things. Yeah, so the V24 bed does not move, the gantry moves. You want a bed probe still because the gantry will get out of level. Like you can see, you can move one corner of it independently, and the actual bed itself will be close to, but not perfect as far as level goes. On my 350, it does warp just a little bit. I think the bed mesh shows that it's out of sync by like point, gosh, I don't even remember. I want to say 0.2. No, that's too high. I don't remember. It's enough that it actually compensates. It still gets a bed mesh and compensates as it travels to get that perfect first layer. Yeah, as compared to something like my first printer was a monoprice maker select, and the way that you leveled the bed was twisting 4 nuts. Each corner of the bed had a nut on it, and you you ran a command on the printer to level the bed, and it would move the nozzle to that corner, and you'd adjust it. And it took a lot of adjusting to get it just right. And then with printing, it would get out of alignment because it's moving, and so the screws would loosen. So people started putting nylock nuts on those bed screws to kind of do away with all of that. Issues still came up, and bed leveling kind of got popular. Nighthawk and ouch. Red will go on the bottom. We're going to use the Y and stop on the Nighthawk board for this. So you go through that with your Creality 10. Yeah, Clipper helps out a ton. I know with that first printer that I had, when I upgraded to a BL Touch on it to get the bed mesh, and I just locked the screws down on the bed so that it didn't adjust, and got it as close to level, locked them down, and then used the BL Touch to compensate. I had to run a custom fork of Marlin to use the BL Touch, but it made that experience so much better. My prints first layer were a lot more repeatable. My Voron 0 doesn't have a bed level, but the bed is so small that I've had to do the leveling on it once after I got it all built and tuned, and since then it's been fine. Did all the tricks in the book on that mono price maker select to make it a great printer. And it was a $200 printer back in 2015, I think is when I got it. And then ended up putting about another 250 into it because it didn't have a all metal hot end, so you couldn't print hot materials on it. The fan shroud was terrible, so part cooling suffered. But in the end, it was great and repeatable. I could throw something to it and it would print PETG and PLA just perfectly. I got a special deal on a Prusa MK3S Plus that I jumped on and ended up selling my monoprice for $200 after it already had been used for 5 years, which at that point was a steal in my opinion. It's a great deal for me to get rid of it for that much, because the Ender 3s were starting to get popular at the time, and those were $150, $200. But they were still somewhat new and not a lot of mods had come out yet for them. All right, well, I think everything's wired up now except for the bed. Let's see how this print's coming. Go ahead and get this charcoal filter filled. If I can remember where I put my charcoal. It is kinesio tape. I have issues with my radial nerve because I'm in IT, so I'm at a computer all day, every day of the week, and I just pinch it sometimes. And the PT taught me how to do this tape on it so that it kind of helps it when it does flare up. It's loaded, magnetically attaches. Great. So as soon as that other part is done printing, I'll be able to throw that on. Waiting for that, we can unbox the bed. Promised my son that we would make a shield for him tomorrow. We had to throw one of his like toy shields away a couple days ago because it just broke in half. I was like, you can do it out of cardboard. Well, this nice thick piece of cardboard would make a nice shield. So the LDO kit's bed comes pretty much completely assembled. It already has the magnet on it for the removable build plate. It already has the heater on it, has the thermal fuse, and it's just ready to screw onto the frame. Other kits, like my Formbot V0 kit, I had to apply the heater and the magnet pad. The magnet didn't have the cutouts for the screws, so I had to cut those out myself. Yeah, so LDO kit's kind of premium, which is nice. Waiting for that part to print. We can clean off this build plate. I don't think there's anything I can use those for. Minutes. Let's go ahead and clean this off. See if we can start this print again. Maybe new flip-flops with those parts. They're very thin. I think they were only got 3 layers in, which is the typical fail point for the Prusa XL with that error that comes up. So that's only what would that be, 6.6 millimeter. Yeah, that error is just a bummer. At least they have a fix for it, at least alleged fix, but it's going to be a project. So that might be something to tackle once I'm done with this printer build. Be nice when this build is finished so that I can get rid of some of those boxes that are sitting over there and put that printer in its place instead of just on the floor, because I have to keep going back and forth with it. So Jake, how long have you been into 3D printing? Okay, so quite a while now. Nice. Have you mainly stuck with Creality machines, or have you ventured to other machines as well? For me, I started with that monoprice machine in 2015. Oh, my camera's wigging out. Did not notice that. Let's see if we can get it to track me. There we go. Yeah, I started with that monoprice machine in 15, got a Prusa MK3 in 2020, and that was a great machine. I actually have it back here now. I was fixing it for a friend that I gave it to I found myself a bamboo in May of last year on Craigslist. Somebody was just dumping it and could take some Bitcoin, which I actually had. So I said, why not? Could use a fast printer that could do ABS. And that then got me down the rabbit hole of how can I go fast and cheap, no, not so much cheap, but how can I go fast and reliably print ABS and ASA, because where I live in the Southwest United States, PLA in a car starts to warp, PETG starts to warp a little bit, so I wanted to print some more usable stuff, and actually start selling stuff as just like a side gig. And so I went down the path of a Voron, and my work, we needed to start printing nylon for some of our prototypes. But that got me started with the Voron 2.4 350 and then a Voron 0. And now I'm building this one, which is a V 2.4 300. So you're Ender 3, you upgraded the hot end to Triangle Labs, BL Touch, Raspberry Pi, and then you got a CR10. So I'm not familiar with the CR10. Is that a Core XY machine, or is it a bed flinger? And yeah, the bamboo news from the past 2 weeks has made me kind of sad. I use my bamboo quite a bit, but with the privacy issues that they're introducing and kind of locking out the community, does not make me happy. I could probably sell that for a decent amount and pick up a box turtle and convert my Voron 350 to a multicolor machine. But I also have considered converting my 350 to a tool changer. This part does not want to snap together. It's better than the last piece was. Okay, so the CR10 is just a chonky Ender V3. We have some lull spots at work that are pretty chonky. I want to say they're 300. And they're slow. The design is ancient. We bought them in 2018. So part of me building this is getting us a bigger machine that is fast and can print engineering materials. There we go. So there's the Nevermore version 6 filter. Now we can get it mounted. Make sure that this is all lined up before I attach that. I think everybody knew with the bamboo ecosystem that they kind of hinted they weren't going to keep it open. It's just kind of a bummer that they've made that move, but I do think that there's a space for them in the market. They're not going to cater to the open source community, which is fine. But I had a friend in November ask me, like, hey, I'm gonna get my father-in-law a 3D printer, and he is 80. He was an engineer, and I think he'd just have fun with it. What's one you can recommend for him? Well, I said the bamboo, because you don't have to do anything with it to make it functional. You don't have to fiddle with it every other print to make it work. It just works, and Prusa is kind of the same way, but the feature to dollar ratio is quite a bit different. Which we'll see how the Core 1 kind of shapes out, because that's an interesting machine to me as well. I feel like that could replace some of the bamboo faithful machines. But I really don't think that the community now is ready to even think about trusting bamboo in any way, shape, or form. Awesome, Jake. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night and good day at work tomorrow. I'm going to be signing off here soon too. And yeah, I'll pick back up this week. This was my first night on YouTube. I've done a couple of weeks on Twitch as I built this out, but I wanted to try it out on YouTube too and see how many we got. But thanks for tuning in. We'll see you later. I get this bed plugged in, I will sign off for the night. Looking like a printer. I think with that, I'm going to head off to bed. If you're still here watching, thanks for tuning in. We'll continue this build through the week, and hopefully by the weekend, well, no, I'll be out of town this weekend, but hopefully sometime soon we'll be putting plastic down. Thank y'all. Have a great evening, and see you next time.